What if I told you leadership has less to do with psychology and more to do with, well, physics? Seriously, what if the biggest problems leaders create aren't because they're not pushing hard enough, but because they don't understand their own weight? We're going to explore how the laws of physics can completely change how you think about leading a team.
All right, picture this. It is just after 4 in the morning. Your phone lights up the dark room. You work for a huge, successful company, but this isn't some critical emergency alert. Nope, it's a message from the person at the very top.
And that's what it says. How many calls did you make yesterday? A question so tiny, so deep in the weeds, it's almost bizarre. At 4 in the morning.
Now here's the kicker. We're not talking about some scrappy startup here. This whole story, it comes from a $1.4 billion pharmaceutical company. You know, the kind of place you'd think would have things figured out.
And believe me, that 4 a.m. text was not a one-time thing. This founder is everywhere. He's in every single company WhatsApp group, constantly checking people's locations, poring over expense reports, basically micromanaging things that should be handled way, way down the ladder.
So what is going on here? Well, the source material for this whole idea argues that the real issue isn't the annoying text message. The problem is physics. It's something called the gravity well.
See, for ages, we've pretty much seen leadership through an old-school Newtonian lens. You know, the idea that to get anything done, you have to apply force. You push your team, you drive for results, you apply pressure. But there's a different way to look at it, a more Einsteinian view that says it's not about force, it's all about mass.
And this mass has a name, organizational mass. Think of it as the natural weight that just comes with your job title, the budget you control, how long you've been at the company. And this isn't a bad thing. It's not a criticism. It's just a fundamental law of how organizations work.
To really get your head around this, let's use a fantastic metaphor. Imagine your entire company is one giant trampoline. And every leader, well, they're like a heavy bowling ball placed right on it.
So, what happens when you put a heavy ball on a trampoline? You know this, right? The surface sinks. It bends. It creates this deep dip, a gravity well that naturally pulls all the little marbles toward it.
And this right here is the crucial part. A little bit of influence, that's good, that's leadership. But when a leader's mass gets too dense, when that need for control becomes all-consuming, they stop just influencing. They actually start to warp the reality of the entire organization around them.
Now, this warping isn't just some vague concept. It shows up in 3 very real and very destructive ways. These are the distortions you find at the bottom of a leadership gravity well.
First, truth gets distorted. People start curating only the good news to avoid getting that 4 a.m. text. Second, time itself gets warped. Everything slows down because the whole organization is just waiting for that one massive object at the center to approve every little decision. And third, information gets altered. Bad news starts to circle the leader like a satellite, but it never, ever lands. Because who wants to be the one to deliver?
This leaves leaders with a pretty stark choice. Every leader wants to be the sun, right? Radiating energy, providing warmth, keeping everything in a healthy, productive orbit. But when your need for control becomes infinite, you accidentally become a black hole, completely crushing the very speed and freedom you say you want.
Okay, so if you're a leader, you can't just get rid of your mass. So what's the solution? Well, it's not about trying to be lighter. It's about consciously managing the dent you make in the trampoline. It's about managing your curvature.
So great leadership isn't about getting more mass or more authority. It's about being aware of your weight and carefully managing the curve you create, making sure it's a gentle slope, not a crushing pit.
So what does that actually look like? Well, it means letting new ideas orbit around you for a while without you immediately sucking them in or shooting them down. It means giving talented people the space to move and get things done. And it means creating an environment where results, both the good and the bad, can actually land on your desk without your constant interference.
Which brings us right back to the beginning. If you find yourself constantly pushing, constantly checking in, constantly applying that old-school Newtonian force, you have to ask yourself this question. Are you doing all that because you've forgotten about the incredible power of the gravity you already have?
Look, the question isn't if you're the heaviest object in the room. If you're the leader, you are. The real question is, what are you doing with that weight? Are you being the sun that gives life to the system, or are you the black hole that nothing can escape?